live on Instagram and okay, I'm also trying to go live on YouTube. So I'm going live on both mediums. And honestly, I did not announce that I was going live because I didn't want any pressure. You know how how you want to do something, you just say, you know what, let me just do it. Let me not just, waste time. So if you're joining me, welcome. Thank you for joining me, and thank you for joining this broadcast. So in this broadcast, basically, so that I go straight to the point, and this live video, I'm going to be sharing about my journey to creating like a soul aligned business and a soul aligned career, and the real behind the scenes story. Okay, and the reason I'm sharing this is because a lot of the times we tell people to follow their passion. I'm sure you heard it so many places. I remember one speech by I think it was Steve Jobs, and Steve Jobs was saying, do something you're passionate about. We're very famous for saying tell people to do something you're passionate about. But honestly, I dare to say that maybe 85 to 90% of people in this world are really not doing the things that they're really passionate about as their source of income. Okay, they might be doing it as maybe a source of, how will I put it, so maybe as a volunteer work, something at the side, but not as something that they're pursuing actively as a source of income. Okay, and the reason is because a lot of the times when you decide to do that thing that you feel, okay, this is what I'm passionate about, this is what I'm called to do, it is always very difficult. Let's be honest. So I'm not going to sugarcoat it now. It's all very difficult. You are riddled with a lot of fear because honestly, sometimes the thing that you're really passionate about is not the thing you studied in school. It does not have a straight line. You probably have not seen a lot of people making money doing this. You know, I remember when I was younger, I have an older brother and he loved to play football. I remember, no shade to my parents because of course they always loved us and they wanted the best for us. But I remember that they used to almost discourage him or beat him for focusing on football as against focusing on his academics. And a few years later, I think Nigeria began to do well in football, began to see Nigerians entering major clubs in the world, and football became a big deal. Same thing that happened with Nollywood when people wanted to be actors or actresses, entertainers, celebrities, influencers. Now everybody celebrates them. But when they were not, it wasn't popular, nobody had seen it. I'm sure average parents discourage their children. Imagine a child walking up to his parents and say, "Oh, mom, dad, what do you want to be when you grow up? I want to be an influencer." Of course, now they'll be like, "Oh, fine," because they see an influencer making money. But in those days, it was really difficult for the average parents who love their children to comprehend that that could be a way of living. Let me even bring it back to this modern world now. I talk to multiple people who look at me and say, "Wow, Tale, it's just been International Women's Day, and today is Mother's Day, by the way. It's Happy Mother's Day to all the mothers who are watching. I'm going to watch this video." Who meets me and say, "Oh, Tale, well done. You shattered the glass ceiling. You're doing great work," and things like that. Now they celebrate me, they praise me in quotes, but the truth is, it's been an adult journey. The journey to creating the life of your dreams, or what should I say, or making money from what you're passionate about, or making money from what I call soul aligned work, which is what I believe that God has called us to do on this earth. Okay? Because I believe that every single person is on this earth to fulfill a purpose. And honestly, or when you hit the world and you become an adult and adulting begins to happen to you, you most likely almost want to say, let me put purpose aside, please. I have bills to pay. I see a lot of people living like that. And then maybe you're fortunate you get a job, that is paying you adequately to be able to pay your bills and is giving you probably respect with the society. Then you begin to say, why the heck should I want to live my dreams or pursue my purpose or do that? Like, what is that for? Like, even if in your heart, your soul might crave for something more. But the truth is, because of your humanity, because of your ego, because you want to be a responsible human being, a lot of people don't end up doing work that is soul aligned. And so that's why I thought I wanted to go live today and share my journey to say, how did I really walk through this path to do work that is soul aligned? And I'm going to try and share this every Sunday. Now, I don't know when I'll go live. Maybe I'll try to go live at 11 a.m. on Sundays. I'm not sure. I don't want to promise because I don't want to do what I can't keep to. But I thought this is good for me to share with people because there might be people who are saying, I really want to do work that is aligned with my soul. I really want my business or my career to be something that is really aligned with what I am meant to do on this earth. And how do you know that? Because sometimes you get whispers in your heart. Sometimes you see other people doing things and you say, oh my God, I had this idea, but I never executed on it. If you have been like that, please let me know in the comments. You felt like, oh my God, I had this idea. You know, I had this inspiration, but I never acted on it. Because those things are your soul's whispering to you, your soul whispers. They call it soul whispers, okay? Or as Christians, we say those are the ways God is telling you, the Spirit of God that lives on this side of you, because everybody has Spirit of God trying to sort of whisper to you that this is what you're meant to be doing. But a lot of the time, when we look at the reality around us, like if you're hearing the plane that is going around me, you know, you look at the reality around you, you say, no way, I can't do this. You know, this is not realistic. Who heard the word realistic? At the same time, we all know that realistic people are not the ones that change the world, right? We all know, you know, right? You know that people that change the world are the people that dare. Okay, the people that change the world are the people who dare to believe in the impossible and create the impossible. And so, basically, yes, what is the blueprint that we have to make money with our passion? What is the blueprint that we have to create this life that we feel is fulfilling and is also nurtures our soul? Most of the time, there's no blueprint. It's easier for someone to say, go and become an accountant or a lawyer or a doctor because they are blueprints, right? Even these days, become a content creator. Maybe there's a blueprint for it because you can like look at what other people have done and try and copy them, right? But a lot of the time, there seems to be no blueprint for that your soul aligned work. However, you will not live your highest life on this earth if you do not follow your soul aligned work. Okay, so let me go and share a bit of this book. Or I was Rick Warren on purpose. What has been driving me? What has been motivating me? I want, okay. But what has happened through those decades is that there have been times when I've had what I call whispers. Okay, those divine whispers, those divine nudges, something telling me this is the path to go. This is the way to go. Take this step, take this action. Okay, so let me share with you practical stuff that's happened to me in the last, let's say 14 years or less. So let me start from, so I started my career my career has been interesting because when I was younger, I went to school, I have a degree in accounting and finance for those that know. I'm the CEO of a fintech company now, right? So that's where it came from. But when I was, and then technology was not even as, popular or such technology. What it was, I don't know. My Igbo people would say, mom. But it was just pushing me and I decided to take it on. I remember then I told my father I wanted to learn computer science. My father was like, no. I think at that time he was like, well, I learn how to sew now. Like computer science like a male thing at that time. But I still ended up doing it. I learned how to sew, but I also did computer science. And so that started the journey for me. And so my career started in an interesting way. I started working in an IT firm. Then I worked in telecoms. Then at some point, I began to have a very strong desire to do business. Now, if you ask where that desire comes from, I don't know. You know why? Because when I was younger, I was very shy, very introverted. So again, that desire could not be because I felt it. It was that divine wisdom. I began to feel that passion, that love and desire for entrepreneurship. Now, maybe I can say, okay, my mother always had like small businesses she used to do when I was growing up. So maybe that's where it started from. Okay. But beyond that, it was just there. Like I wanted to always do business. Where was that coming from? So I remember when I was working first in an asset management company, I met Tara Durotoye. She's popular here in Nigeria, Africa. You know her. And makeup store then. Her first step store was opposite my office. So I used to go there and just learn makeup. And I thought, okay, yeah, I'll be a makeup artist. Just that hunger and drive for entrepreneurship, right? And so started learning makeup and small, I started to do makeup for my friends, for people during the weekend, make some extra money for me. Where it was coming from, like I said, I did not know. But that was how my entrepreneurship journey started to blossom and things like that. Then at some point, I went to work at telecoms, I worked at Airtel. And then something, that entrepreneurial thing started to come to me. Entrepreneurship began to call to me. But I knew that it would not make sense for me to go to my parents who have spent so much money educating me to say, hey parents, welcome to all those that are joining me. I'm sharing the story about monetizing your passion. Okay. I wouldn't go to my parents and say, oh, hey parents, how are you doing, parents? What I want to do in my life right now is to do business. I'm just gonna be like, are you for real? We invested so much in your education and all that. So I decided to do what I call the academic route, which would make more sense to them. So I went to do an MBA. I went to an MBA because an MBA made sense. Because hey, what are you doing? I want to go to school and do an MBA, and it seemed logical, right? To do an MBA, and then you probably be able to get a better job and things like that. But the truth is that I was doing the MBA because I really wanted to do business. I wanted to be an entrepreneur. And I just thought, okay, so I'll go and do an MBA, sharpen my skills better. And then whenever the time comes for me to be an entrepreneur, I'll be an entrepreneur. Anyway, after the MBA, for some reason, I couldn't become an entrepreneur immediately because, again, life happened. I needed to make money. So I went to work in consulting, which was a blessing. Which was a blessing. Why? Because working in consulting helped me to put the practical structure to what I learned theoretically at the MBA. And I began to help small businesses to grow as a consultant, which was amazing for me. I loved the work. At least I loved a good part of the work. Okay. The part of the work I did not love working in consulting was the part that after a project, we left the businesses. I felt like, I was selling my soul, like on to the next, on to the next, on to the next. I felt like it would be nice to be able to support these businesses for a good number of times. So anyway, so that was my consulting career. But then after I worked in consulting, I started to have very strong soul whispers to do entrepreneurship. Okay. And I started a direct consumer fashion brand. And that brand started to tug on me. And that these days, we talk about side gigs. I joke with my team members now in my company, I know you have a side gig. How's your side gig doing? You know? But in those days, it was like a taboo to have a side gig. Your employers must not know that you had something as a side gig. So I started to do this direct consumer fashion brand at the side, but I was so uncomfortable because I know that if my employers found out, I'll probably be penalized, So it's very uncomfortable. So at some point, I think we did a show and we got a lot of media publicity, and my employers found out. And I think that was the point where I said, you know what, Tala, you have to choose, because I can't keep being uncomfortable trying to promote this my side gig that was a direct consumer fashion brand that's begun to get some publicity and doing this job. So I think I chose to resign and focus on that business. Okay. Obviously now people have more options, but then that was the only option I saw. After I resigned, it was one heck of a journey for me because whilst I really enjoyed the work we were doing, that whole feeling of, oh God, no stable salary again, which a lot of people face, which is what makes people like run away from entrepreneurship or run away from doing work that they feel they're passionate about. Because if you are used to having a certain amount of income and then all of a sudden it doesn't exist, the fear, the ego, everything, and I went through that. I pushed through that. And again, at some point, I was able to get investors into that business. By the end of the day, the business failed. Oh my God. I felt like, it's one thing for someone to say, follow your passion, follow your dreams. It's another thing for you to do it against the advice of your family. And it's another thing for you to fail. Gosh, it was a humbling season for me in my life. It actually failed. So after I failed, I had to go back to pay employment. But funny enough, the divine whispers did not stop. If I had some, I was like, I beg God, leave me alone. I've done what I felt you were leading me to do, and I have failed. And so let me share this as a lesson, as a first lesson to everybody who's listening to us. Okay? But I'm scared. So the first thing I want to share with you is don't be afraid of failure. You need to redefine what failure is. You need to see failure as feedback. Anything that I have that seems successful today is because of those years of failing and learning the lessons that failure brings. Because I think that one of the greatest fears that people have is the fear of failure. People don't really want to fail. And why do we fear failure? The shame of admitting that I did something and it failed. But to be honest, I will not be where I am today if I did not fail. So the first lesson I want to tell all of you who are watching or who are going to watch the replay, don't be afraid of failure. Embrace failure as feedback. Embrace failure as a lesson taking you to where you want to go. Okay, so that's my first lesson. Okay, so failed, went back to paid employment, began to hear this divine whispers, but decided that I was going to ignore it. Tried before, and it failed. So worked in this technology company, was a head of strategy and business development, was earning a good living and living my life. One of the things I love to do is travel. I remember, because I was earning so well in that job, I remember that year I booked trips back to back, I was traveling. I went to Vegas. I went to Dubai. I went to England. I was like, I've suffered and sacrificed for 5 years. It's time for me to live my life. I went to Germany. Like, I had a blast. I remember when I came back from Vegas. This was in February 2014, 10 years ago. My God, how time flies. February 2014, funny enough, guess what? It was 1st of March 2014. Now that I think about it. So it was a year ago. Come back to Vegas, go to church 1st of March 2014, hear a voice in my ears saying, I don't know, 1st of March 2015, so it was 9 years ago. I hear a voice in my ear saying, it's time to leave that job and pursue that thing, that soul aligned passion and purpose that you have. I heard the voice in my ears clearly. So it was not just nudges now. This was like a clear instruction I heard in my head. I turned around and said, and how you say, who is that? Who's that? Please don't talk to me. That was how I was feeling. Like, whoever that is, I don't want to hear you. I don't care what you want to say. I'm not interested. And so that's how I felt. And so I ignored the voice. But in my heart, I knew what I heard. But I became stubborn. I said, you know what? I decided I was going to disobey the voice. Because at that time in my life, I wanted to make a critical decision. I talk about money, finance, investment, technology. That's what I'm known for right now. And one of the critical financial decisions I wanted to make was to buy a property, okay, to buy real estate. And so I was not going to hear any voice. I was going to buy real estate. I was going to take a mortgage. And I knew it was going to take me a particular period of time. Even if I wanted to do an expedited mortgage that I'll pay like really quickly. Okay, because in Nigeria where I live, we don't have like long mortgages, right? So I said, no, I'm not going to listen to this voice. I'm going to do what I wanted to do. And guess what? The moment I decided to disobey, I started to have a lot of pressure at work. Okay, which is the second lesson. Sometimes in life, you will not move from where you are until pressure comes to move you away. That's the second lesson on this path to, following soul aligned work. So if you are feeling pressure right now, you're listening to me. It might be because that pressure is a sign that where you are right now is not where you're supposed to be. It might be because that pressure is a sign that God has something else, soul aligned work for you to do. So I started to feel pressure, very significant pressure. People began to, I started to have fallout with my team members, my colleagues. I'm like, what is happening? And things like that, until it got so bad that at one point, my CEO, who I was reporting to, because I was also an executive, walked me out of a meeting. We're having a board meeting in the midst of my head of department. Okay, so the way it was structured, I had like 2 head of departments reporting to me, and I was reporting to the CEO and the CEO. Walked me out of this meeting and let my, should I say my colleagues, who are under me, stay in that meeting. Then I knew that You don't need any more sign. After that, then I fell ill. I was breaking out in rashes. So I'm the kind of person who I have very strong mind-body connection. That was my first experience about it. You know, my soul and my body are very connected. If there's something distressing my soul, I notice that it shows up in my body. But that was my first experience of it. I'd never experienced it before that time. Anyway, fast forward, I decided to obey my soul's whisper, and it led me on a journey to starting a career as a business coach, which I loved and I still love and I still do because I still love supporting businesses. I still love helping people to make money. I still love helping people to have freedom and live, an abundant life. But if I didn't go through that pressure, I wouldn't have found that passion. Okay, so that's a tweetable. If I didn't go through that pressure, I wouldn't have found that passion. So sometimes your pressure is the key to you finding your passion. Okay, so went to that pressure, found my passion, and started to do that business. But working as a business coach and consultant, I was also very afraid. I was also afraid because you know how you've been through a season where you lost the business, you failed, you don't want to fail anymore. So I wasn't doing that business with a lot of joy, but it pushed me to work hard. And I got to realize what they say when they say do it afraid. If you ever heard do it afraid, that was a season in my life when I learned what do it afraid was. Because I pushed myself. I said I was determined I must succeed. I must make something out of this, being a business coach and consultant. And I worked really hard. I remember then I used to write for a popular online publication, still existing now. And I remember then I used to write like 2 or 3 articles every week. I was pushing myself. I was waking up. I was working hard. I was confessing and speaking what I wanted to speak. All right. Which is the third thing I will share with you. On the journey to create soul aligned work and make money doing something that you love, you must begin to speak to yourself and tell your brain that it is possible. In today's world, we call it affirmation. Okay. I love something I heard from, what's her name? I can't remember her name, but she said, speak what you want to see until what you see is what you say. So I began to speak to myself that I'm a successful business coach. I'm a renowned business coach. I'm known all over Africa. I began to speak. Now, going on that journey had ups and downs. There were times where I had to do conferences, I had to do events. Sometimes I had sponsors, sometimes I made losses, sometimes I didn't have customers, but I kept pushing. I kept pushing until I think I wrote my book in 2017 called Up Level, where I documented this journey. So you should find my book. It should be somewhere in my link. It's actually also on Seller. You can check out my book on Seller. Very good book, very practical book to turn your passion into a profit. So went on that journey, turned my passion into a profit, became quite known. I think the time I felt like, yes, I made the kind of impact I wanted to make was when I launched my book and a publication in South Africa featured my book. And I was like, oh my God, I'm not just a regional person, Nigerian person now, I'm now an African person. I felt so good with myself, because I felt, yes, I'm reaching people all over the world. And I remember when I got my first clients in the UK, I was like, oh my God, I got my first clients in the US. I was like, oh my God, I'm doing something right, so that was the journey. But guess what? As successful as that journey was between 2015 towards the end, and by 2019, about 5 years in, I started to feel that restlessness again. I was like, no way. I thought this was it for me. I started to feel that restlessness again. This is the thing that people don't tell us about really doing soul aligned work. You feel as if when you find it, you can stay in your comfort zone, but no, you have to keep growing. And one of the signs that you need to grow is restlessness. So if you're feeling restless right now in the work or the career or the business you're doing, that might just be a sign that it's time for you to grow higher. Okay? Not just go higher, grow higher. So the restlessness came again. I began to feel this desire to make a greater impact in the lives of people. I began to feel like, you know what? My business coaching practice has impacted the life of a few hundreds of people. But I began to feel like I should be doing something that impacts lives of thousands of people. Like I really wanted to change the lives of thousands and thousands of small businesses all over the world. Why couldn't it just be a few hundreds? Why couldn't it be thousands? And I started to think about it. What problem do thousands of small businesses have? And I said, for me, it's access to finance and access to market. And I started to think, how will I solve this problem? So I did my research. I did a presentation. I said to present it to banks. So I approached 4 or 5 banks I had worked with as a trainer and consultant in the past. I approached them and I said, good, done this research. I think this is a good way for you guys to be able to serve small businesses. And of course, all of them turned me down. I remember crying in my car one day. Oh God, I thought you wanted me to grow bigger. I want to go bigger. I approached these banks, all of them are turning me down. And I heard that soul whisper saying, maybe this is your problem to solve. You know, Oprah calls it the aha moment. I had that aha moment saying, maybe this is your problem to solve. But I was not so willing because I said, nah, bruh, I've been through this before. I don't know. I don't know if I want to do this again. But I went to a leadership institute called Starting Block in 2019. And when I went, that institute changed my life. Because in that room, I was with fellow dreamers. One of my partners in that institute, I remember his name is Jeff. Hey, Jeff, wherever you are in the world. You know, Jeff was already a Forbes 30 under 30, very successful guy. Had founded a successful, I think, regenerative agricultural business, things like that. You know, very successful. But at the end of the day, the business had failed, and he was in Starting Block, start another business. And I was like, Jeff, are you not tired? Are you not afraid? You know, but meeting people like Jeff inspired me to know that you can do soul aligned work, okay, and make an impact. So I came back to Nigeria after Starting Block. So then my job, it has been filled with ups, with downs, with successes, with with failures, with victory. I'm still on that. I will not trade the person. And you know, I think it was Brian Tracy that said that when you are on a journey to success, it's really about who you become on that journey. That's much more important than attaining success. And I cannot lie to you. I have grown in my capacity. I've grown in my ability. You know, yes, I have made money on the journey. I'm still making money on the journey. I'm still going to make a lot of money on the journey. Amen. Because I'm speaking what I want to see until what I see is my reality. You know, at the same time, I won't trade the experience for anything. And I want a lot of more people who are listening to me to have that experience. So the other day I was thinking to say, Tale, how can I serve people? What would I have liked to have on this journey to doing more soul aligned work? What is something that if it was available, I would have liked to tap into? And I realized that, to be honest, I wish I had someone to guide me on this process, to tell me this story, to tell me that, man, these ups and downs are real, but these are the ways you can navigate it. Okay, these are the things you can do. These are the things you can put in place, you know, to increase your chances of succeeding and to make the best of this journey. And so what I decided to do was to create what I call a coaching program. And the name that came to me was Pivot and Prosper. Because I feel like that has been my process. I've been pivoting, prospering, starting over again. And so if you're like me and you're looking to do more soul aligned work, maybe in a business or in a career, my Pivot and Prosper coaching is for you. Now, I intend to make it into a course, but I thought, no, I want to start as a one-on-one coaching program. The reason is I really love supporting people personally. I don't know why. I know that from a business perspective, and from the fact that I also run a tech startup, I know that scalable things are things that can reach hundreds of thousands of people at the same time. And one-on-one coaching is not really scalable. However, I get so much joy doing what is in quotes unscalable by changing one life after the other. So if you are in a place right now where you're saying you're feeling the pressure, you're feeling the restlessness, you're having those divine whispers, you're seeing those ideas and concepts and say, Kai, and I had this idea, and I thought about this thing, but you're not really implementing because you really are scared because you don't really know what to do. My Pivot and Prosper coaching is for you. The way I've designed the coaching is that it's two ways. Number one, the first way is I have one session where we walk through this process of what those your divine whispers are, those your soul aligned way, in a way that is balanced, that has both the intuitive and the practical aspect, so that you have somebody who will help you put together a blueprint to do more soul aligned work. The second way is a 4 session hand holding, where I will hand hold you through the process of creating more soul aligned work. So if this sounds like something that you're interested, just DM me on Instagram. I'll send you the link. If you're on YouTube watching this, I'll put it in the description below. Now, I have an interesting story, but I'll share it next because time has gone. I remember when I wanted to quit that very lucrative job. You know that job that I traveled 4 countries in a year, Abby? I called a relative. I'm not going to call the person's name. And the person said, "Oh my God, somebody has charmed you." It cannot be normal. Okay, so I'm going to share the story next week on my broadcast. I'll try and come on at like 11. I'm not promising I can come on earlier or late. But what I decided was I'll come back from church. I go to first service in my church and I'll just come live. I don't want to put that strict structure. So if you're watching, thank you. If you are going to watch a replay, thank you too for taking your time to watch it. I'll try and make it about 30 minutes plus or minus. And so I'll share that story with you next week. And about what happened about this thing I'm charmed. And if you're interested in my pivot to prosper coaching, check the description on LinkedIn, send me a DM on Instagram, and let us do more soul aligned work that we can make money, prosper, and make the world a better place. So thank you all for watching. I'm so glad I did this, and all of you are going to watch it. So end the stream on